Welcome everybody to How Fast Will It Go, and today we're dealing with the 1955 Porsche 550A Spyder. Now at 645 horsepower, 578 pounds-feet of torque from a 2-litre turbocharged inline and flat 4 engine, and the vehicle itself weighs a mere 1,521 pounds, now has all-wheel drive, and it can do 0 to 16 2.105 seconds and 0 to 104.237 seconds. Now I know this car doesn't have anywhere near the level of amount of power that we've had in previous vehicles, especially in the previous episode where we had the Apollo Intenza Emozioni, which had more than 1,500 horsepower. But unlike that vehicle, this doesn't have anywhere near the amount of downforce, weighs a lot less, and being an older vehicle, it's a lot easier to tune it to give it a higher rate of top speed. So got high hopes for this, but hopefully it won't let me down from those high hopes, because doesn't have anywhere near the power that we've had before in previous vehicles. But like I said, the age and the lack of downforce should hopefully help it. So let's get out there and see what this car can do. It's unfortunate that we couldn't even put even more power into this, because probably would be an even faster vehicle in terms of acceleration if we could. But hopefully it will still be able to do pretty well with such a small flat 4 engine. Oh dear. Oh, well, there's 200. There's 220. 240. So despite having very limited amount of power, we're far from the bottom of the leaderboard. There's 252. But unfortunately we do not have all that much grip or handling in general, which is the price to pay for no downforce, and therefore a car that's not having to deal with that downforce acting on it while it goes higher and higher in terms of speeds. 252 is still pretty good. It's only a few miles an hour off the Apollo from the previous episode, which obviously had far more horsepower and was a far newer vehicle. It also had far better handling. Oh dear. Yeah, the handling is going to be the big issue with this vehicle. Just does not have any grip, even though we obviously have given it all-wheel drive and better tyres and better suspension and the like. It's just, still really rather aged in terms of what it can do handling wise. And considering how agile the Apollo was in the previous episode, which was able to dodge in and out of traffic like it was nobody's business, this is a big drop in quality in terms of handling. But despite all those flaws, let's see if we can at least come close to the Apollo, more so than it already has. Surprised by how quick it's able to accelerate despite having such a lackluster amount of power, especially on this side of the motorway, which is notorious for producing lower end of the speeds. Oh dear. Certainly impressed by how much acceleration it has for such a underpowered vehicle, but then that does come down to the lack of weight. Weighed the same as an Apollo, for instance, it would have been a lot slower, but 645 horsepower in a car that only weighs 1,500 pounds is really rather remarkable. But it's looking like 252 is all we're going to get, which still is nonetheless really impressive when you consider how little horsepower it actually has. Pretty sure that's one of the lowest, if not the lowest, horsepower rating we've had from a vehicle on this series. So the fact that it's not at the bottom of the leaderboard is mightily impressive, quite frankly. So 252 mile an hour does put us well behind the Apollo from the previous episode and a lot below my anticipated expectations. But nonetheless, 252 is the same as the Nissan Fairlady Z, It's quicker than the Ford number 25 Mustang RTR, the Celine S5S Raptor, the Aston Martin Vantage, and the Mitsubishi GTO. It's only 1 mile an hour behind the Plymouth Atomic Punk Bubble Top, and 4 mile an hour behind a similarly aged Jaguar C-Type, and also 4 mile an hour behind the previous car in the previous episode, the Apollo Intensa and Mozioni. So yeah, still fairly impressed by this. If it had a bit more grip, a bit more downforce on the go, it might well have been able to go slightly quicker, but obviously more downforce would obviously also limit the top speed. So it's, you know, a compromise, but I think a bit more compromise in the favour of downforce would have helped this vehicle a fair bit. But then, you know, depends how much that downforce is going to limit the top speed. So yeah, still impressed though nonetheless for a car that has so little power. You know, it's more than half the amount less than the Apollo from the previous episode. Had nearly 900 horsepower more than this. So yeah, mighty impressed with it despite all of its flaws and the lack of power. So yeah, lack of horsepower on this series obviously does not mean a lack of top speed. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.